Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we will be on the test server here today, and we will be talking and testing and showing you guys all about the Chimera fight. So I put together a team here on the test server that was able to handle the Chimera relatively consistently and effectively. I'll share with you guys my experience on how to deal with this boss, and hopefully you guys can take that info, apply it to your own rosters, and build your own teams to effectively tackle this new content. Keep in mind that don't be discouraged on day one that you can't do the highest level of this content, because it is challenging content and it is supposed to provide players with more runway in terms of progressing their accounts. With that being said, I think that the Chimera is difficult enough that it should be a challenge, but I don't think it's so difficult that it's completely out of reach, given that we are given more powerful relics in the game to make our champions even more stronger. With that all said, let's get right into it. All right, so we got this brand new bastion here. It's covered in snow. It's the Christmas theme. So after the next update, we will have all of this. We're not going to cover too much else different here, but we will be heading to the Chimera fight. So here, the Chimera fight is going to be in the clan boss. So you can kind of see here the Chimera hanging out with the Demon Lord and the Hydras. And there it is. Let's go in. So keep in mind, guys, it is a 1 week. It's a 1 week key. It's a 1 week key. So we get 2 keys for 1 week. So right now there's no way to exceed 2 keys per week. Maybe they'll sell the key maybe or something in the future, but we can't get any more than 2 keys. So we have the opportunity to use both keys on any difficulty we want. We have difficulties from easy all the way to ultra nightmare. Show you guys the chest here real quick for the damage requirement that we need. So this is the easy mode. It's going to drop various rewards here. It's nice that we do get the fragments. Even in the easiest mode with the lowest chest. So anybody could get this mythical, the free mythical Embrius, just by doing this content. All right, guys. So we're going to pick up some ocular mass, crafting material, and then we have the starstone to upgrade. And then we have the gemstones, which can be put into the sockets in the ruins. But yeah, it's good to see that at least the bottom chest of the easiest difficulty will provide some of the resources. So let's see what the top chest looks like. Top chest just looks like you get an extra gemstone. You get more of the resources. Going to normal, same kind of idea here. Top chest of normal, just more of the resources, but you're still looking at the rare resources, so rare gemstones, epic gemstones. So here, so this one you're gonna get some epic material. So hard difficulty, you're getting epic material. On brutal, on the lowest chest, no epic material. On the highest chest, you're getting brutal material and a legendary gemstone, which is nice, and of course more of the more resources in general. Nightmare difficulty, the lowest chest, no epic materials. And you go to the top chest, epic legendary materials, legendary gemstones available to you in Nightmare already. And then Ultra Nightmare, top chest, we're looking at legendary material, legendary gemstone with mythical gemstone available. 1 to 2 mythical fragments only. So you're not actually getting significantly more fragments doing the highest difficulty, but you are getting some of the higher rarity resources, which is obviously very important as well. And then you get a 2-star basalt here, instead of the 1-star from the lower difficulties. So honestly, like the reward structure is not heavily favoring the nightmare difficulty. You get more and a slightly more higher rarity, but honestly, you can get involved just by doing the lower difficulties, guys. All right, so also if you use a champion for one team, it doesn't mean that it's excluded from your other team. So similar to Hydra, Clan Boss, you can use the champion over and over again. So unlike Hydra, it doesn't get grayed out, so you can't use it again. So that's good to know. I tested it with the Seer here. But let's jump into the team that I used here. So I went into Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss just right away. I just wanted to see if it is possible to, or what is possible with what I had on my roster. So this is the best team that I have on my roster that I can basically field against this boss, at least that I know of. The champions that work, it's really hard to deal with this boss unless you're planning to manual this boss. So all my runs I did full auto, If I were to do a full manual run, I think it might be successful, but there's so much levels of RNG involved that it might not be worth it to just sit there and try to manual it, because you can just fail due to RNG. So the way I was doing it, I was basically just letting it run auto, and I swear I probably let it run auto maybe like 30 times. So I've done a lot of testing with variations of this kind of team, and I'll show you guys exactly what works about it and what doesn't work. So the best damage dealing champions that I've found without any kind of bug or exploit or anything are actually max HP champions. So Newt, Marius, you can go double Newt. Newt I found deals more damage than Marius actually, maybe in the long run, but it could be just a small sample size. They're very similar in terms of overall damage. It just depends when they die. Newt I find has better survivability because he has built-in life steal, and Marius, because he does do the extra turn mechanic, he does cycle through some of his buffs a little bit quicker. So these two I found work well as the best damage dealers. I tested Trunda and other strong damage dealers just to see how they compare to the max HP damage dealers. I'll show you guys the results of that after we talk about the team. In terms of what you need for a team, obviously decreased defense, weaken to increase your damage output. So we got that from Lydia here. You need a cleanse. I think a cleanse is kind of a necessity, to be honest, because there's so many debuffs coming your way at any given time that you kind of have to deal with it relatively frequently. So I think a cleanse is very vital. The other thing you probably need is block debuffs. You can't really get away on a team without block debuffs. Just again, the amount of debuffs coming your way is very, very high. And also having ways to heal up is very, very important. Another thing that you probably really need on this team is a reviver. A reviver makes the auto runs possible. Without the reviver, the auto runs would never ever work. And then of course any other buffs or debuffs that improve the durability of your team. So increased defense, ally protection, shields, really, really important. So for this, for this fight, actually, decreased speed obviously is very good. It does affect the boss. If you have increased speed on your team, that means you're taking more turns. The key to defeating the Chimera and dealing more damage is actually taking more turns. So this is different than how Hydra is set up right now. I'm talking to you, Plarium. I know that you guys are still working on that Hydra fix for that multi and ally attack stuff. But that stuff really messed up the whole Hydra thing, especially with the shields that give Hydra 100% damage reduction. We didn't forget about that. But it's totally different here in the Chimera fight, because in the Chimera fight, you want to take as many turns as you can compared to the Chimera itself. So versus Hydra right now, if you're taking tons of turns while they have 100% damage reduction, you're not doing any damage, you're just running a turn counter. But against the Chimera, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to take as many turns as possible against the Chimera. So having things like turn meter boost, increased speed, decreased speed on the boss is very important. It gives you lots of more turns for you to deal more damage and for your team to recover. But I'll talk as this run is going on, and I'll show you guys some results that I had. But this is, to me, the best team that I could field on my account. And I have a lot of champions on my account. I think there's one champion that can probably improve this team, and that might be Krisk. So removing a Snick Track instead of Krisk, I think would be probably a direct improvement. But you can kind of see here how this fight goes. So the team is on full auto. I'll show you guys the gear and everything right after the fight. But like I said, I've done this fight on full auto probably about 30 times, maybe even more, to be honest. And what is happening is basically you have a week to find a good run that you want to lock in. So it's going to be a week of like fishing for the right run that you want to, collect. Obviously, I didn't even put a lot of focus into a team that can complete the trials that are going on. So here's the trial button. So it actually shows you all the trials that you have available to you. So I'm going to go over it real quick here. So in each form, you have the easy, normal, hard, and then you have 3 trials for 9, basically 3 of each, so 9 total. But yeah, we'll show you guys for the cameras. Make sure got them all. I don't think they change. They don't change. So it's just going to be every week. It's going to be like this. And then every one of these forums have different trials. So I didn't really put too much consideration into trying to complete them. However, there is a benefit to completing them. Obviously, you get more materials, and the more trials you do actually going to increase your point multiplier for Chimera Clash. So there's a lot of things to consider here. There's almost like too much things to consider. So you notice that the ultimate form transforms every 5 turns. So that's going to be how many turns you have. From my experience, the ultimate form is actually not even the hardest form. The hardest form is actually this form, the ram form, because the ram form has the reflect damage that basically just kills your damage dealers no matter what. There's almost no way to kind of survive it, at least that I found, other than picking them back up, recovering, and then recovering through this fight, letting him transform back to the ultimate form, and then, you know, recovering your team, because the ram form is super unforgiving in terms of your team just dying off and then not being able to recover. Against the ultimate form, at least you have a chance to recover, because he kind of just deals damage to you, and then damage you can kind of survive. Like here, we got a little bit unlucky. We didn't have the block debuffs up, and now he's going to apply to provoke to us. But you can kind of see where the damage is going as well. We got the Chimera turn count, 13 turns, total damage 13 million. So this team should 1-key this boss. I got just shy of 1-key damage, and I think with better gear or more optimized gear, plus, you know, some favorable RNG plus the relics, it should be able to 1-key it full auto. If you want to do it manual, maybe for some of the hard parts in this fight, I think that's definitely possible too. So right away on day 1, I can probably 1-key this boss if I spent a little bit more time trying to do it. And this is on Ultra Nightmare, the hardest difficulty boss or level for the top chest. I'm not 100% sure how I want to deal with the second chest. So the second chest, you probably go down to Nightmare, top key that one with the same team, and then maybe have, you know, maybe do trials or something on that team. Maybe modify it slightly so that you can do trials. Make sure you guys have 2 damage dealers. I'll show you guys teams or results with teams with only 1 damage dealer. And it's really safe to do it with 1 damage dealer and then 4 supports, but you're just not pumping out the damage numbers. We're not seeing anything too crazy in terms of damage dealers doing crazy numbers. Like I said, max HP seems to be the way to go. Newt seems to be the go-to. Marius obviously can work as well. But I'll show you guys, like I said, the results of other traditional damage dealers as well and how they performed in this fight. So here, recall that the decreased defense cannot be resisted or blocked. So as long as you have the block debuffs against the line form, you should be able to prevent the decreased defense from applying to your whole team, and then your whole team doesn't get wiped out. But since this is on full auto, there's obviously going to be RNG involved, right? You don't know when the block debuff is going to be up or anything like that. Here we go. So you notice that the trial, this trial counter is going up. It's at 2 now. So I did complete some trials here in the line form. So 2 of them got done. This one says damage while under 6 or more debuffs are under increased defense. And then this one is damage to Chimera while it's under a leech debuff. So we are doing like some of the trials, you know, without really thinking about it. Yeah, like I said, I just wanted to make a team that can actually top damage the boss without thinking too much of the trials. And I think for the second key, after you top damage it, I think for the second key, you focus more on the trials. Maybe you can make modifications so that you can, you know, check off more of the trials. In terms of the team comp here, Lydia is super important. Obviously, decreased defense, weaken. I highlighted this in my earlier preview video where she was basically my top choice for a, you know, basically a must-have champion for this team. She brings decreased defense, weaken, speed up, strengthen, and then she brings the block active skills, which basically shuts down the Viper form If the Viper form just does the A1, he's much more manageable. So here we go. Here's the Viper form right now. When he does this steal, this is really bad, because if he steals your block buffs, block debuffs, counter attack from Newt, it's very bad. But Marius is the key here, because Marius does remove those buffs, and he is basically the only option we have to deal with the Viper form if it goes bad. Honestly, any of these forms, it can go bad at any second. So that's what I noticed on these fights. It's not an easy fight. It can go wrong on any of these stages, but I find the ultimate form is the form that is probably the most predictable, and it allows your team to kind of recover. So when you go to the ultimate form, at least with low trials, it gave me a chance to recover my team. So against the separate forms, the damage output doesn't really, it might actually drop a little bit, and then once you go back to the ultimate form, then it's going to pick up. So here we actually have the Viper form pretty in control. He's not doing anything too crazy right now. We have all our buffs up to protect us from getting stolen, from all that stuff. And now we have the block active scales from Lydia on the Viper form. So he's completely handled right now. Keep in mind that the Chimera counter is only halfway. So we're not even halfway done the fight. There's a lot of things that can happen here that can go wrong. But look at the damage, guys. We're on pace for the 1 key without too much difficulty. This is actually a good run so far, and I'm doing it live on camera, which is awesome. But you guys can kind of see how the fight works. So here, Snick Track dies because of the ally protection, but we have the quick pickup here because no one died previously. And here we're just laying on the smackdown for the damage, right? We got the increased speed, we got decreased speed gonna come on pretty soon here. Unfortunately, we only have, you know, one decreased speed champion, and it's on a multi-turn hit. There we go, decreased speed, sorry. Multi-turn cooldown hit. So it's not going to be 100% up all the time. That's the problem, right? Unfortunately, like I said, there's too many things you got to bring to this team on a five-man team, while needing 2 damage dealers to try to reach the point damage threshold. I mean, you know, as a community, we'll come up with some cool teams and some cool comps, but this is basically the bones of what I think works really, really well. Like I said, it's full auto, guys. There's no intervention here or anything. And, you know, I think for a day 1 team, this team works really good, really effective. We can watch it till the end. It looks like it's going pretty well right now. So actually, I'm curious to get the result on camera here. But yeah, so we got Elva here. Elva's really important too. She brings the speed aura, which gives your team even more speed. She brings continuous heals, which helps your team stay alive, obviously. Cleanse, block debuffs on 1 champion. Very good. And she brings the revive. So right now, like I said, this boss is ridiculously tough because of the reflect damage. The reflect damage instantly wipes your damage dealers. And there's really, yeah, there's not too many ways to really deal with this guy. He is weak to fear, but it doesn't mean that you can kind of see Newt here taking the reflect damage. Luckily, he can heal, but he's kind of weak to fear. But it doesn't really stop the reflect damage. So there we go. Luckily, Elva has the cleanse in time. So honestly, against this guy, I'm just trying to survive. Against this guy, I'm just trying to survive. Like survive 5 turns without losing my whole squad. Get back to the ultimate form, recover, start doing some more damage. And that's kind of how it goes against this guy. We do have fear from Lydia's A1. Lydia's A1 obviously can't control it unless you manual it, but she will apply it once in a while. And if she applies fear, then that's going to be, you know, makes the RAM a little bit easier to deal with. But here we lost Marius already, but as long as we only have 1 champion down, it's not the end of the world. It's because Elva can pick it up. But if we start losing like 2 champions, 3 champions at the same time, that's kind of when things start falling apart. Honestly, I find shields incredibly important. Snick Track here is actually super strong. He has a really good kit that fills the holes for you know, a lot of what my team was missing. So if you have to include 2 damage dealers, Lydia, you only have 2 spots. You only really have 2 spots that you can apply to cover decreased defense, increased defense, cleanse, you know, a reviver. So you need a cleanse, reviver, block debuffs, shields. So you have a lot of things going on, right? And there's actually not too many combinations of 2 champions that can cover everything. So Elva, Snicktrax, or Elva, Krisk, or Krisk with another really strong reviver, and that's about it. Because Krisk brings decreased speed, decreased attack, ally protection, shields, continuous heals. So he brings a lot of the protection. So you have one kind of really flexible spot where you can bring a team reviver, a block debuff, cleanser. So you have more flexibility on that last spot. So for me, since I don't have Krisk to test for this team, Snicktrax is actually a really strong alternative. He brings the shields, decreased speed, leech, which is actually really important too. It helps your team survive, ally protection, and he also brings reflect damage, which is kind of interesting. Reflect damage is good against the lion form, which, you know, might help put out some damage. I didn't see like significant amount of damage being put out against the lion form. Like you can see right now, we had reflect damage up on our team. It didn't really show, oh, here comes reflect damage up on our whole team, but it doesn't really show like really crazy damage coming off to the lion here. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, it's just not crazy amount of damage. It's just a little bit of damage. Yeah, it's nothing crazy. You probably can just ignore the reflect part of it. He's supposed to take five times the damage in that form. You see Newt there basically doing 900k a hit. Mary's doing 1 million a hit roughly. And then you see Brimstone doing 350k a hit. We're actually looking pretty good here. We're not losing too many champions when they transform forms, which is a really good sign. Yeah, so this run going really good. I'm glad on camera, showing the potential of this team. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it so far. Hopefully I explained it as well as I could. Brimstone's really important. Brimstone's doing 350k a hit. It's nothing too crazy, but it does help out a little bit. I do have everybody spec'd out to do some extra damage against the boss, or pretty optimally. Like I have War Master on Lydia, I have War Master on Snicktrax, I have Phantom Touch on Elva, just so she can pitch in a little bit of damage. I have one, I think I have 2 Brimstones and 1 Cruelty. So I'm not too sure if Cruelty stacks stay through the forms. So if they transform, do the Cruelty stacks carry over? I'm not too sure about that. But right now we're looking pretty good. We just need to continually pump damage into this guy while we can. Got decreased speed, increased speed up. And hopefully we get a good result. We're gonna lock it in. And then yeah, we'll show off the one key team on camera, which is really sweet. You guys can kind of get a sense of what this team kind of requires in terms of how it's going to do well. So here we go. The steal here is really nasty. He stole a lot. Yeah. Necrosis stacks. This is kind of where it's going to fall off. If it's going to fall off here, the block revive is going to happen too. So we applied the block active scales, which is really good. It's going to give us a chance to recover. We lose a 1 revive because he can block revive here. So hopefully we can survive this. This is one of the forms near the end which can go really wrong because he can steal the buffs. See, like right here. Oh, are we gonna fail here? This is gonna be really bad. We're basically just at the 1 key. We're at the 1 key mark, right? But we're gonna fail this because, yeah, we're gonna fail this. This is how bad it gets, guys. This is how bad it gets. We need Marius to strip right now. Strip him down. Let's go. Strip him down. Oh, come on. Don't kill everybody, please. You see the pain here, guys. You see how hard it gets. You see how tough it gets here. We're just at the 1 key mark. We had the damage lined up easily. but we had some bad RNG against the Viper form, and this is where it fails. And this is where it fails. 107. It's the best damage I put out on this team, but the one key is 114. We had it, and we lost against the Viper form there at the end because the Viper form is so tough when he steals all our stuff, and then we can't really deal with it because the only champion we have that can strip is Marius. Yeah, it's just really tough. It's a high RNG fight. Obviously, if I wanted to maybe like manual it at the end, you can kind of intervene. But man, that's tough. That was tough. I wish I could have done it on video to get the one key, but this is gonna be yeah, it's our best result, 107 damage, but it's consistent. This isn't like a one-off. This team was doing about 90 to 100 full auto without really doing too much. It definitely can do the one key. Like you guys saw, the damage was there already. I'm not going to save the key so that I can still keep testing. But I'll show you guys the team here, the champions of what is needed for this team. All right, so we did a full run here for the Chimera. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and it gives you guys an idea of what to expect. So as you guys might have noticed, all my champions were laying down protected buffs. I think this is super important to the fight. Having the protected buffs means that it basically like negates a big part of the mechanic interaction against the Chimera and all its forms, because you're going to lose a lot of the buffs a lot of times against a lot of the forms. They strip it off, right? So having the protected buffs really helps, and because they're, you know, you can't interact with them, it's just really strong. I have Lydia here in a 9-piece protection set. In terms of accuracy you require for the Ultra Nightmare, I found that 400 accuracy is probably kind of what you need. Maybe 375 you can get away with, but I found probably 400 is probably what you need. So here Lydia has 375. I think that's probably bare minimum. I think 350 wasn't enough for her. She was getting resisted relatively frequently. So 375 minimum, probably closer to 400 accuracy for Ultra Nightmare. 9-piece here, 9-piece protection. The thing with protection is that it only gives you a 75% chance of placing the protected buff. So it's not 100%. If it was 100%, this run would be so much better. There are 100% protected buff champions, but they are, I will talk about that in a second here. So 75% chance to protect your buffs, which is really important for Lydia. In terms of masteries here, I got, blessings here, I got Brimstone. Masteries here, War Master. Nothing too crazy, but just for the extra damage here, and then Life Drinker for some extra healing. But that's going to be Lydia. I have her at 321 speed. I found, like I said, guys, the faster you can make your team, the more turns they take, the more damage they're going to dish out. So these are the stats on my Lydia here. Let's move on to the Snick Tracks. Snick Tracks, like I said, covers a lot, right? His kit covers decreased attack, applies leech, which is really good, brings decreased speed, also places shield, and then ally protection, reflect damage. The reflect damage was only chipping in a little bit of damage, almost negligible, so it's not super important. And then he brings the leech here a little bit with extra reflect damage, but it doesn't really do too much, at least from what I can see. Brimstone here, of course, for the extra damage. In terms of mastery, same kind of thing here. War Master, chip in some extra damage. Lasting Gifts for extra duration, which is really important. And then extra size of shield, I think, is important for him. Again, a 9-piece protection here as well on Snick Track. Basically, since he can apply the shield, ally protection, you want those to be protected as much as possible. So you got shields, ally protection, reflect damage. You want that to be protected if possible. Total stats on him, I'm aiming for 300 speed on this team. 400 accuracy here. You can kind of see it's not super tanky. So the gear is not like my best gear. It's actually more focused on speed. So you can definitely optimize this a little bit. But I think it's probably like 95% like maxed out for my account. So 100% don't expect to be able to do this on day one, guys. If you guys are not like end game level, like I'm playing like my account, end game account, on the test server, so you guys can see what is possible or what is needed to make it possible, right? So after Snick Tracks, the other support that we have was Elva. Elva here brings a lot. He brings, like I said, the revive, which is important, speed aura, which is good, block debuff, cleanse, which is super, super important. Those are one of the hardest like combination of skills to actually pick up on a good champion here. For her, I got 311 speed. She's got good HP because I need her to survive. She's the one that needs to survive. She also doesn't need accuracy, so she can add more stats that way. Like I said, she brings the A1 continuous heal, which is good. Increased speed, block debuff, cleanse, revive. And then this is actually pretty good as well. Remember that the perfect veil on her actually is a negative against the, I believe the Ram form. The Ram form deals extra damage against champions under the perfect veil. So this is the small negative in her kit. However, I couldn't omit her from the team. I just couldn't find a replacement to omit her, so I had to still include her. Masteries here, I took Reviver masteries, so timely intervention for extra turn meter when somebody is like super dying. You could take War Master for extra damage, but I found that this is probably the best, just so she can just be a pure support champion. Again, 9-piece protection here just to protect her buffs. So continuous heal, protected, protected block debuffs. This is it. If she can protect the block debuffs in those key moments, then this is going to be it. Increased speed, protected. Increased attack, increased defense, protected. So you need to have protection on all your supports, so that their buffs are protected, and then you can basically ignore a bunch of the Chimera mechanics. Okay. All right, let's go to the damage dealers here. So for Newt, here, I used my first Newt, just pure damage, guys. Pure damage. If I could do 3 refresh accessories, I would, just for some extra, you know, A3s coming in for some more damage. This is my Newt. If you can make him faster and more powerful, good for you. You don't need accuracy on him. However, he does apply the weaken, which is actually useful. If you can give him more stats, even better, right? I went for Phantom Touch for some extra damage here. And of course, everything's fully booked out. Went for a Giant Slayer here for some extra damage as well, of course. All right, pretty standard for Newt. He did pretty well for me. After that, we have Marius, and this is basically just my Arena Marius. You know, he could be optimized even further. You could give him refresh accessories to give him more A3s back. You could give him maybe like a merciless set, so that he can get, you know, again, get more A2s and A3s back. But yeah, this is my Marius. He definitely could be optimized to deal a bit more damage. A bit of accuracy on him is important, just so he can strip off the Chimera stuff. Like I said, he's the only kind of way you can deal with that Viper, the Viper form, if he steals all your stuff. If he steals all your stuff and then you can't really respond to it, then you're kind of screwed. So like I said, guys, there's a lot of RNG involved. Went with Cruelty just for the you know, decreased defense and all that, and then went with Helm Smasher. Helm Smasher is probably still the best. I don't know, maybe War Master would have been better if I had better gear to cap him out easier, I guess. But Helm Smasher helps me cap out his damage against the boss. So like I said, guys, 2 damage dealers, definitely ideal. Otherwise, if you're running 1 damage dealer, there's probably no way for you to get 1 key power levels. I'll show you guys some other team comps that I tried just to compare against the damage from this one. So first, I'll show you guys the Nightmare key. Nightmare is basically 100% full auto with this team very, very often. Yeah, Nightmare is about 80 million to top chest. So 1 key Nightmare is without a question here. Show you guys some other keys that I put in against Ultra Nightmare. See, 95 million, 103 million. Keep in mind that this team just did 107 million on camera here. Did a casual 60 million here on Nightmare. Another 63 million here. Like I said, it's going to be a very simple auto full auto 1 top chest Nightmare very frequently. So you just have to redo it maybe just a handful of times, and then you're going to get the full auto 1 key. Another Ultra Nightmare run, 83 million. So I'm going to bring back the attention here. So I subbed out Newt for Thor. So I subbed out Newt for Thor because Thor brought decreased speed. He's one of the few damage dealers that can actually deal damage that actually brings decreased speed. So I tried him out instead of Newt. I also brought out Snick Tracks for Wixwell. So Wixwell is actually a really, really good substitute. I would say he's 3rd for what I was able to put together. So I would say Chris would be number 1 in terms of the shield support, because he brings decreased speed. And then we got Snick Tracks, which also brings the decreased speed as well. And then Wixwell, I would say it would be like a 3rd because he brings the shield and then the extension. Extension on protected buffs is actually massive. So in terms of like substitutes for those champions, Wixwell would definitely be up there. The problem with Wixwell is that he doesn't bring decreased speed. So without decreased speed, your team is actually doing less damage because, you know, the boss is taking more turns. So I subbed out Newt for Thor, and I would say like the damage is kind of comparable. So you're giving up Newt's damage, which is basically double what Thor can do, but you're taking more turns. And arguably you're getting more survivability from Wixwell because he can prolong the buffs on your protected, prolong the turns on your protected buffs. So you're arguably getting more turns. So that might actually work out in your benefit, but honestly, it depends. You might have Thor and you might not have Newt. In that case, you can use Thor and take Newt out. He's viable, but he's not going to be like the best damage dealer, but he does bring decreased speed, which is really, really important. So here is another team that works. One damage dealer. I tested this with one damage dealer. I used Marius here. And then the other like GOAT champion for this fight is actually Alatreon. Alatreon Blade Master was a training Heroes Path guarantee, I believe, back in January or February. He's not available anymore. That's why I didn't want to showcase him in this video at all, because Alatreon, you know, you can't get him anymore. He brings protected block debuffs and defense up 100%. Like it's baked on into his kit. He also has a shield as well, and he has an A1 increase buff duration. So he can lay protected buffs and then extend them. So he's really GOAT for this fight in general. The problem is he's not available. He can kind of free up your support, one of your support slots. So he could basically free you up from having Elva, because Elva brings the block debuffs. So in this case, you can kind of get away from Elva and bring somebody else in. But you can kind of see the damage difference here with one damage dealer. Basically, your damage is cut in half, right? It's going to be way more difficult to land really good damage numbers with only one damage dealer. That's why it's important to have these really strong supports that can deal with, you know, multiple buffs and multiple debuffs. Like I said, guys, I was playing around with the other damage dealers as well. I used Taros as well, and I used Trunda as well, and all of them did not outperform the max HP damage dealers. So you can kind of see from the screenshot with Thor, Thor did about half the damage as like a Newt or Marius, for example. So Taros did more damage than Thor, but that's about it. He's not going to surpass the max HP damage dealers in this case. And either did Trunda. Trunda was just like nowhere near as effective as she is in Hydra. But hey, that's good to know. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. It's a bit of a long one. It's a long, thorough explanation of why this team works, what you need to make this team work, and how we can move forward on beating this boss. Like I said, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, especially for, you know, players that are not super progressed in the game. But honestly, just view it as a challenge. View it as something that you work towards. It's not going to be easy to get. Like even for me, I'm still working towards the 1 key. But basically I'm there. I'm very confident this team will get it, you know, just with some good RNG. We have the damage for it, but we just run into situations where some of the forms are just giving us trouble. For example, if we didn't have our buffs protected, if we just had our proper buffs protected, or if Marius had the strip ready, then, you know, it would have been lights out. It would have been easy 1 key, right? But in this case, it didn't happen, but I know it's going to happen regardless. I had limited time to play test the team, but I did get quite a bit of runs in just to mix up some of the team comps to try things out. Like I said, without snick tracks, Wixwell works really good. Extensions work really good. Krisk would probably be the absolute best support because he brings extensions, decreased speed, big shields, continuous heal, decreased attack, all that stuff. In a protection set, he would do really, really well against this boss. And 2 damage dealers, max HP ideally. Sorry guys, this is going to be a more end game scope video. I'm going to be pumping out some options for lower difficulties, but I want this to be like roughly the framework for my teams. I think it works really, really well. It covers a lot of stuff. If you have protected buffs, it's going to negate like a lot of the mechanics from the Chimera. And honestly, there's so many things that happen in the fight that you can't account for everything. So you just have to hope that your team is solid enough that the auto comps can actually like beat him and complete the run. But yeah, anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video in its entirety. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and it was informative. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, if there's any improvements you guys see from your own rosters. Obviously, I don't have all the mythicals to test. Maybe there's some mythical combinations that are even better than this. Alatreon obviously is a champion that none of us can get anymore, and he's really good for this fight. However, I don't think he's absolutely necessary. Like I said, this is one of the better teams, or one of the best teams I can field from my own roster, and I have lots of champions to use. So anyways, guys, once again, thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.